Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are reacting to our first horror movie for the month of October, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So this is not a Halloween special movie, but like I had said before, all movie reactions during the month of October will be horror based. While this isn't a Halloween special, it is a donation reward, and an interesting one at that. I talk about my YouTube channel in real life when I'm just like hanging out with friends. They ask like, "Oh, what have you been up to?" So I talk about my YouTube channel, and I told a friend named Joe about it, and I told him about like how I do the donation reward stuff and everything. He's like, and we had gotten talking about like in the past movies that I've seen recently and haven't seen. And so he's like, if I give you money now, could you watch a movie? Could you check it out? Because there was a movie he wanted to know my thoughts on, but I hadn't seen it. And so I'm like, I guess, sure. So he gave me cash. It's a bit different than normal donation rewards. He actually gave me cash and asked me to react to this. With just the caveat of that I tell him what I think about it, because I guess he just doesn't watch reaction videos. Like, he specifically told me, uh, watch this, watch The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which, by the way, I was already wanting to see anyway. And then tell me next time you see me afterwards what you thought of it. And I'm like, okay. I'm not gonna complain. He gave me like $5 for it, which isn't a lot, but $5, you know. Um, and he told me like just to tell him. So I guess he's not planning on watching it. I guess he just doesn't watch reaction content or doesn't have the time with his job or whatnot. So yeah, a bit of a weird way, probably the weirdest kind of donation I've ever received for one of these. And it's not really that weird. It's just cash instead of, PayPal. But yeah, the weirder part is that he's not actually planning on watching my reaction. He just wants to hear my thoughts from me, I guess. But yeah, so The Last Voyage of the Demeter is a movie that I wanted to see in theaters originally, just never ended up getting the chance to. All I know about it is that it's a horror movie, that it takes place on a boat, and that it has some kind of monster. I never saw like a full trailer. I think I saw like a cut up version that was on like TikTok or something. So I saw like the briefest glimpse of the monster, and I don't even remember exactly what it looks like. It looked kind of humanoid. That's all I remember. They were on a boat, and a lot of spooky horror stuff. But I'm excited to check this out because from the tiny bit that I saw, it looked pretty good. It looked like it had the right atmosphere and style, and it has a very eye-catching name as well. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I assume the Demeter is the ship. Like, I have to assume that. But yeah, it's like I don't really know like the full story of this. But I'm very excited to find out. I'm very interested to see what this exactly is. So, all of that being said, we're going to get onto this and check out the movie. We're going to see what we have in store here, and hopefully it ends up being pretty good. I'm trying to think. It kind of sounds a little familiar though. It's like just the idea of a ship called the Demeter sounds familiar to me, and I can't place where I've heard that. Like outside of obviously this film, like where have I heard that before? Like I've seen or read something where there's a ship called the Demeter before. I swear. I can't think of it for the life of me. Because when I think of Demeter, I think of like the Greek, yeah, Greek god. goddess. Um, I don't know why I second guessed myself on the pantheon there. But yeah, the Greek goddess Demeter, goddess of the harvest and everything. Um, Typically the mother of Persephone in a lot of the Greek mythology, if not all of it. She's in Hades. She's in the video game Hades. But yeah, it's like that's what I typically think of with Demeter. But I think I've heard of a ship named Demeter before because it just sounds so familiar to me. But I can't, for the life of me, even place like what kind of media it would have been in. I don't know if it was like something I read, something I watched, something I played. It was. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't Hades. That's not what I'm thinking of. Because in the game Hades, there isn't a boat named Demeter. It's just a character. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out as I watch the movie. Maybe something will click for me, or maybe it won't. Yeah, I don't think because I haven't really heard much of anything about this movie. All I really know about it is again what I saw from that little like cut up trailer. Um, the fact that it was really cut up like maybe like 15, 20 seconds worth of the trailer, maybe upwards of 30. The fact that it was so cut up, I'm kind of wondering like it was probably not like a full teaser. It was probably cut up from a regular teaser, regular trailer. So I'm wondering if that would have given me more context if I saw the full thing. I kind of don't want to though, because a lot of trailers spoil shit nowadays, and it's like for a horror movie, it's like I kind of don't want to, especially something that looks like this. From again what I saw with the clips on like TikTok or whatever. It's like this kind of seems like a horror movie that you don't want to be spoiled on. It just seems like that kind of thing, you know? I hope you know what I'm talking about. I barely know what I'm talking about half the time. Um, yeah, I'm excited though. Like I said, this is the first um, horror movie reaction for the month of October. Because even though I'm recording it prior, I'm recording on, what is today, the 29th? 29th, yes. This is only a couple days before October 1st. October 1st is the day you're seeing this on Sunday. So it does count. It does count. So I chose to do this at this point. Plus, I think the movie just recently came out to streaming anyway. So it just timed perfectly. Um, I think it came out like a week ago? Week or two ago? Something like that. Either way, uh, we're going to get into this, see what this movie is about, see if my mind can start working and figure out where I might have heard of a boat called Demeter before. And yeah, hopefully we'll enjoy it. Um, but let's just get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode, or to the movie, rather. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I think I was pronouncing his name wrong. I went and checked it again in the reaction. I think it's Wojciech, based on how the captain pronounced it at one point. Um, that was David Dastmalchian, though. I did not even fucking recognize him. Like, looking back on it, now that I know, it's like, oh yeah, I can tell now, but I didn't recognize him at all. It's like, wow, okay. But yeah, the first mate, I did not even slightly realize. Um, so this was, like I said, the last voyage of the Demeter, and let me check something here, real quick. I just want to make sure on something. Um, Clemens. Bram Stoker. No, not Stockett. Stoker, Dracula, Clemens. Okay. I wanted to check to see if Clemens was an actual character in the book in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Apparently not, because the ending kind of leaves it up that he did. I mean, he did survive, and he was going to continue hunting down um, Dracula. But I guess he's not like an actual character from the book that we would know. Um, and like I said, it's been like a decade since I've read the book, so let's let's talk about this. I I want to say like right off the bat, before anything else, because I had not heard anything about this ahead of time, in regards to reception. It's not one of those movies where I went into it like knowing like, oh, some people like it, some people don't. Um, Again, I have not heard anything regarding that. Like, I don't even know what he thinks about the film. He didn't tell me. He just said that he thinks I should see it, and is surprised I hadn't already. Um, so I looked it up here, and yeah, I would say I don't get it. Because, like, obviously, as always, take it with a grain of salt, but Rotten Tomatoes can't be trusted, in my opinion, for movies when they already have rated movies like Hook super low. But they gave this movie a 48% with 182 critic reviews and an average rating of only 5.6 out of 10. And I don't get it. I don't get how you could watch this movie and not find it to be absolutely fantastic. From the acting to the tension, the setup, the pacing, just Dracula's portrayal, all the little mannerisms and mannerisms is probably the wrong word. All little the little Dracula like things that they got right, the little lore things and all. And like looking at it here, it says the website's consensus reads: the last voyage of the Demeter finds a fresh angle on Dracula's oft-told tale, though although lackluster execution, where where was anything lackluster? Often undercuts the story's claustrophobic tension. Where was anything lackluster? And the problem with these like obviously like critical consensuses is they don't explain anything. Like it doesn't explain anything about that what that means. Now Metacritic gave the film a score of 52 out of 100 based on only 31 critics. And on Cinema Score, audiences gave the film an average grade of B minus, which is a lot better than otherwise. Vulture's Bilge Abiri, I apologize if I mispronounced that, says what truly distinguishes Last Voyage of the Demeter beyond its thick atmosphere of dread is its gleeful cruelty, the delicious mean streak with which it sets up its suspense set pieces and its kills. The film is filled with delightfully savage surprises, and suddenly, in this most predetermined of movies, anything seems possible. So that actually sounds like a very positive review, surprisingly. Um, Peter, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. So Somchinsky, something like that. Peter S. of RogerEbert.com gave the film 3.5 out of 4. So here's another positive one, calling it a smart, well-made, and sometimes downright creepy take on the tale that both horror buffs and regular moviegoers can appreciate in equal measure. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not necessarily perfect, but that's an extremely well thought out way to put it. Um, the Boston Globe's Odie Henderson gave it 3 out of 4 stars, writing, "This is good, fun summer fare shot in ominous shades of darkness by cinematographers Roman Osen and Tom Stern, and fueled by an effective score by Bear McCready that isn't obtrusive." Okay. So, I want to see some negative thoughts, though. I want to see, like, what people actually say about how this could be seen negatively. Okay, here we go. Frank Scheck of The Hollywood Reporter praised Overdahl. I might be mispronouncing that. I guess the director's direction, but added, "He's not able to bring much spark to Bragi Shoot Jr. and Zach Olkowitz's slow-paced formulaic screenplay." I again apologize for any names I mispronounce. "Which lacks the dark wit necessary to keep us invested in the gory proceedings." No, it doesn't. It's like, it's slow-paced, but in the right way. Like, it's a movie that's supposed to be slow, that's supposed to build up tension, build up on the kills, ramp things up until the end. That's how a movie like this has to be. And in that regard, the pacing was excellent. Formulaic? What? Like, I'm not saying it was like the freshest thing ever, but to call it formulaic is just fucking weird. Like, that's just a weird thing to say. And lacking the dark wit, like, that's like one thing it definitely was not lacking. The Guardian's Benjamin Lee gave it 2 out of 5 stars, writing, "There's no real surprise to where we're heading." No, there's not, and there's not meant to be. It's telling you where it's going at the start. The only surprise is the fact that there was a survivor. That's literally the only real surprise here. And it's not meant to be about a surprise. Not every movie has to have a surprise. There's no real surprise to where we're heading given the source material, and so a great deal of the film is rather a rather meandering wait for the inevitable. It's not meandering, though. Do you not understand the meaning of that word? It is not meandering. It's ultimately a doomed voyage. Yes, that's the point. For the crew, for the audience, and for Universal's monster movie strategy. What are you IndieWire's David Ehrlich gave it a D grade, saying that, again, Overdahl, the director, falls back on chaos and cruelty. Okay, that's not a negative. His movie's sorely lacking the sense of dread. No, it is not. It is, like, the sense of dread is heavy. And concluded, if you're going to make an R-rated horror wank about Dracula... An R-rated horror wank about Dracula slurping throats with a smile on his face? What? What is that? What? Make sure that the rest of the movie doesn't suck as hard as he did. The thing is, none of these have given what I consider to be valid criticism in this regard. Here's the thing. If you don't like the movie, that's perfectly fine, but at least give some valid criticism. Like, the closest I could say of any of that was valid was just them saying, like, they didn't think there was any sense of dread, which I think is bullshit. But at least that's just an opinionated thing. A lot of the other stuff they were talking about is just, like, vague. Like, they're like giving the most vague reasonings that aren't really reasons for anything. Some things that are just, I can't even see how they could come up with, like the pacing thing. Again, if they don't like it, that's fine. You're allowed to not like a movie, even if I loved it. But I did love it. I thought everything in this was fantastic. I thought the actors were perfectly cast and held the roles exceptionally well. Especially this kid who played Toby. He did a fantastic job. Um, I think that the pacing was excellent, really building up and setting up that tension and dread. Um, really making it feel as hopeless as you know it to be, and at the same time still entertaining you with the prospect of how is this all going to go down, exactly what is going to happen, how is every single person going to die. That's what you're watching for. Again, you're not watching to see some big surprise. You're not watching expecting to see something different. You know right from the start of the film where this is going to end. You know right from the beginning how this is going to go. So the appeal of this is more about the build up, the pacing, the tension, and the kills. As well as, of course, the acting, the music, all of that general jazz, the direction. And all of it, in my opinion, is done really excellently. Honestly, I would say this is one of my favorite movies that I've seen from this year. Not like counting older movies, I'm talking specifically about 2023 films. Out of all the movies that came out this year that I've seen, this is definitely one of the best. In fact, let me look at my list. I have my list here on Word. Um, where is it? It's one of these. Let me bring up my list here because I genuinely see this as one of my favorite movies of 2023. Okay, so in fact, I'm gonna put my ranking in here right now, probably right here. Yeah, I think that's the right placement. Because keep in mind, this placement is based solely on my personal perspective from watching, is based on my thoughts on the film, as well as just in this moment, yes, my initial impressions. My thoughts could change as I maybe see it again, or just have time to really think it through and everything. But I doubt it's gonna change it that drastically. It almost never does. Usually, it might go down like a place or two, like a placement or two. But I also account it for like my personal tastes, what I tend to like, and what kind of things interest me. And I'm already like I'm a fan of vampires. I like Dracula. Like this kind of shit is something that I already enjoy. I like horror. So I'm also basing it on those kind of factors. And I'm not going to say for right now exactly what is ahead of it and what's behind it. But out of, let me see, how many are total here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have seen 13 movies in 2023 from 2023. I've seen 13 movies that came out in 2023, and it's number 3 for me. It's number 3. There's only 2 movies that I believe were better than it that have come out this year that I've seen. Mind you, there's a lot of movies that have come out this year that I have not seen or have not seen yet. I have not seen Oppenheimer, for example. There's a lot that I haven't seen. But of the 13 movies that I've seen so far this year, for ones that have come out in 2023, it is number 3 for me. And I genuinely believe that. Again, at the most, I believe it would move like maybe 1 space. Honestly, I don't see how my opinion on this could change that much. Like, even if this is just initial hype, it's not going to change that much for me. I love Dracula's design. I'm a little disappointed, and this kind of goes into the part where I say it's not perfect. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see him in full human form. Like, I think at the end when he's dressed up in, like, the aristocratic hat and everything with his cane, I think at that point he should have been in a full human form, and we should have known it was him specifically because of the cane and all. Maybe have, like, a flash of red in his eye or something like that. Um, I think that would have been enough. You didn't need to have him in that form because it's like, how are you gonna like disguise yourself as an aristocrat but still look like a monster? It's like that doesn't quite work. I think he should have been in human form. Just the fact that he did the knock is enough to tell us it's him. Because there's literally only two survivors of the Demeter, Dracula and Clemens. Clemens was the one who heard the knock. He didn't do it, so it had to be Dracula. You didn't need to make him look like the monster still. That's one of my only complaints about the film, and that's honestly a minor thing. It's not that big. It's just something I would have liked to see. But I had no issues with how it was done. I had no issues with how the characters were handled. And was there a little bit of cheese to it? Yeah. Yeah, it was a little cheesy. But that's not a bad thing. I think there's so many critics out there who are so obsessed with movies being super seriously handled and just can't handle a movie having fun, being a little goofy and silly and cheesy. Let me actually look up real quick. I want to see what the audience score for this was on Rotten Tomatoes. Last Voyage of the Demeter, Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I want to see what the audience score was comparatively. 75%. Of course. The critic score was 49% based off 187 reviews, and the audience score, which is based off of 500 plus verified ratings, is 75%. That is over 20% more. That is like 26% more. The audience liked it notably more. And I'm not going to look at all the specific reviews here, but that tends to happen a lot. Like, there are some movies where it's the opposite, where the critics like it more than the audience, but I feel most of the time, unless it's a movie where it's like both critics and audience like adore it, or both critics and audience hate it, which is occasional, but a lot of the time, critics will rag on something that audiences themselves actually love. Or at least like a lot more. Because here's the thing. Critics, when they go into movies, I've ranted about this before, so I'm going to try to keep this brief. When critics go into a movie, they're going into it with a critical eye. And that's a mistake. And I hate that. And that's why I don't consider myself a critic. Even when I do like reviews and stuff, I don't consider myself a critic. I consider myself a reviewer. And barely one at that. Because I don't go into any movie or anything I'm reacting to with a critical eye. That's not my intent. When I go into a movie, I just want to watch and enjoy the movie. I'm not going into it like trying to overanalyze every little thing. And again, even if I were, I couldn't really find much to complain about with this movie. So it's like, even if I were going into this critically, it's like, I would have to be nitpicking every tiny little thing to find anything wrong with this movie like, to a degree where it would affect it that much. Critics, I think, are one of the worst things that happened to media, because people take them way too seriously and don't form their own opinions. It's why so many movies that people who don't go into the critic... It's why there's so many movies that when the people who don't listen to the critics go see, they love. And the people who hate on it, just like the critics, are hating on it because they read the critical reviews ahead of time. It's why that's often the case. It just happens so often, and it's really disappointing. I don't think critics should, one, see a movie before its official release. I don't think critics should get early screenings. In fact, I don't think early screenings should exist. I think that they overall hurt the movies. They overall hurt the movies. They hurt the fan reception to the movie because people are just influenced by what other people say and they don't get to form their own opinions. And because of that, oftentimes the actual reviews and consensus of the film is heavily biased and skewed. I don't think there should be pre-screenings. I don't think that critics and stuff should get to see the movie ahead of time. I think that people should be able to see the movie as it airs blindly. And I think trailers should be a lot shorter on average. I think trailers should not be able to, or not be pretty much allowed to show as much as they do. There should be a limit on what they can show. Like no major plot twists, for example, should be able to be shown in a movie trailer. That ruins a lot of the point, you know? Movie trailers just spoil everything, and that's why I avoid a lot of them. There's only certain ones I'll watch, and usually it's only for movies that I know I'm going to end up seeing and enjoying. And even then, it's not guaranteed. Like, I didn't see a full trailer for this one at all. Yet, I knew I wanted to see this pretty much since I heard about it, since I saw that, like, TikTok chopped up trailer. And some movies I'll only see, like, the first trailer for. And there's a lot of games that I do this with, too, because a lot of game trailers spoil shit, too, especially gameplay. It's like, gameplay is one thing I don't want to be spoiled on. Like, you can spoil a little bit of the story for me with video games because it's like, okay, that gets me a little hooked in. Not all of it and not a lot of it, just a little tiny bit. You can spoil, like, the characters that are going to be in the game, especially, like, for fighting games, but don't spoil gameplay. You know, one thing I hate about all of these, for example, with Mortal Kombat 1 having come out, what I hate about all the trailers for that? I think everyone spoiled fatalities. So I decided to stop, when I was watching the trailers, I decided to stop them before it got to that point every time because I didn't want to be spoiled on what the fatalities were. That's something, for Mortal Kombat, that should not be spoiled. But anyway, back to the point, that's why I didn't watch a full trailer for this. I saw that chopped up trailer and I'm like, this looks like this could be good. I don't want to watch a trailer and be spoiled on shit. I bet you fucking anything that this trailer mentions Dracula's name. They say it enough in the movie. Hell, I bet you I know exactly what point in the movie it says it from, too. The first time the woman is talking about this, and the first time she says his name, I bet you that's in the trailer. I bet you everything I have that's in the trailer. Because of course it is. They're not going to keep that secret. They're not going to let it so that only the people who would who have read Dracula knows that, could tell that this was from that. No, they're just going to spoil the shit out of that. Instead of just, like, advertising it as, like, some eerie creature on a ship. No, they're going to spoil the shit out of that it's Dracula. Even though it would probably have gotten better viewership, better attendance numbers, better money made if they didn't. People would have been more interested. But people hear, oh, it's another Dracula movie, we're not going to go see that. I bet you anything that's the case. I bet you anything. I bet you anything that that there are a lot of people who didn't even see this movie because of that. And I bet you anything there's a lot of people who also formed their judgment before even seeing the movie based on the fact that it's another Dracula movie. So they compared it instantly to something like Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie version, with Gary Oldman and all, which is very heavily acclaimed by a lot of critics and people. I bet you anything they compared it to that, and it's like felt like it wasn't quite as good, and so they automatically hated on it. I bet you anything that there are people who did that. It's sad. It's sad how the movie industry like advertises and reveals everything beforehand. Movies have no like surprise factor anymore unless you avoid that stuff. Like I tend to a lot of the time. It's just it's very disappointing, honestly. It's very disappointing. But luckily, the going in as blind as I could, I love the movie. I absolutely love this. Again, it's my third favorite of the year so far that I've seen for this year for 2023 films. Now that could change because I could see other movies that could change that. There's still other movies of 2023 that I do plan to watch, whether on my own time or on the channel, before the year ends. But yeah, for now, I think this is one of the best I've seen this year. Again, I'm not going to say the two movies that are ahead of it or any of the movies that are specifically below it. Because I'm going to leave that for a later date, basically. But again, I really loved this. I loved just everything about it, really. Like, this was a fantastic Dracula film, fantastic vampire film, fantastic horror film. And a great way to start off our horror-only October, in terms of movies, at least. So, that being said, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of The Last Voyage of the Demeter? Let me know, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.